Hello, everyone. I wanted to come to you all today because I'm just sitting out here in my yard. Beautiful day, by the way, just absolutely gorgeous out here right now, as you all can see. It's just absolutely gorgeous day, a gorgeous day. But I was sitting out here in my front yard, doing some stuff, and I was getting ready to go in and look at um, my mentor, Brian N. Bean. And I was watching one of his videos the other night, and I was getting ready to rewatch it again because it's just so compelling. It was talking about how he turned $228 into $228,000 in less than a year. Now, of course, we're talking about MWR Financial. Now, I love talking about MWR Financial because that's the reason I have everything that I have today. My wife and I, we are financially independent, and just our financial health is in such great shape, and it's all because of MWR Financial. Everything that we have is literally because of MWR Financial. Now, I'm going to give you all my story, and then I'm going to let Brian Bean tell you all his story of how he turned $228 into $228,000 in less than a year. 12 years ago, I was homeless. I remember it well. I became homeless on May 1st, 2008. That's when I became homeless. And I was at the bottom. I said I was at the bottom. I was at the bottom. I mean, I was waking up in the homeless shelter, sleeping on a cold slab and a sleeping bag, and waking up at 4:30 in the morning and walking to the local labor hall to go and work, at construction sites, and waiting to get called out to go and work at construction sites. And it was back-breaking work. And I did that for minimum wage. That's right, minimum wage. Bringing home about $72 per day. That was my story. And I started researching some stuff online when I was going to the library and getting online. And I started going through some YouTube stuff. And I came across Brian N. Bean's YouTube channel. He had a YouTube channel back then called Mentor to Millions, way back then. And this was about 8 months into me being homeless. I was homeless for a total of 18 months. But by 8 months in, I came across Brian N. Bean's YouTube channel. And that YouTube channel really turned me on to a whole new way of thinking, a whole different mindset. This young man, I believe at the time, he was like, when I started watching his YouTube channel, his YouTube channel was longer than that, but I started watching it back in 2009, which was about 8 months after I had been homeless for about 8 months. And one of the first things that I remember him talking about was your mindset. And you have to change your mindset. You have to be willing to do things that other people are not willing to do for a short period of time in order to live the rest of your life where other people can't for the rest of their lives. So in other words, that's the definition of entrepreneurship. Those who are willing to live, the way that most people won't live for a short period of time in order to live the rest of their lives where most people can't live for the rest of their lives. And that struck me. And I remember him talking about wealth strategies and how anyone can become wealthy, but you have to accomplish certain things. And he made it very clear that there are certain things that we all share in that keeps us from becoming wealthy. And the two biggest things is, taxes, your debt, and believe it or not, taxes is your biggest debt. That's one of the things he said. Taxes is your biggest debt. And you have to find a way to get the government out of your pockets so you can keep more of your money up front instead of giving it all to the government up front and then you trying to get something back at the end of the year. So he talked about a whole lot of things. One of the things that struck me, he talked about how you need to change your W-4 form. And so as he was talking about that, I actually went to my employer, which was at the labor hall here in Tallahassee. And I went to my employer and I told him I wanted to redo my W-4 form. So I redid my W-4 form and I restructured it so that I'm not giving that 30% or that 33% to the federal government before I even see my check. Because remember, I was going to work every day, but I was only bringing home about $72 per day. But when I redid my W-4 form that very next day, my check went from $72 up to about $120, $115, $120, somewhere around there. That's almost an extra $700, $800 per month. So so instead of listening to him, and then he's talking about, there are two objectives that every American, every working adult, should have. The first is to get a job, because you got to pay for your expenses. You got to pay for your living. You got to pay to put a roof over your head. You got to pay, to eat. You got to pay all this other stuff, and that's great. And he said, but the second objective is you should get your money working for you instead of you working for your money. Now, in order to accomplish that, you have to invest your money, but you can't accomplish that second objective because in the first objective, all your money is going towards your living expenses, okay? Because he said that most Americans, they don't have an income problem, they have a cash flow problem. And that was my problem. I had a cash flow problem. I was making income, but I didn't have enough cash flow to fund any type of investment. So how do you do that? Well, he showed me how. He talked about how you're going to accomplish that. The first thing is you need to get more money in your check, which I did through redoing my W-4. So I got that money, extra money in my check, extra $800 a month. Second thing is you need to directly confront the IRS on your taxes. So because I was working as a contractor, basically through the labor hall, I wasn't really a W-2 employee. And he had talked about one of the best ways to get your money back from Uncle Sam is to start a home business. So I said, well, I'm a contractor, so that makes me, a 1099 employee, really. So I went back to the labor hall. I redid my W-4 again, and I changed my work status from employee to 1099, which allowed me to go back and refile my taxes for all the years that I had worked at the labor hall. But I had worked at the labor hall before then, 2 or 3 years before that. So I got to go back and, under his advisement, I filed an amendment on addendum to my past year's tax returns. And in doing that, I redid my tax returns for the prior 3 years. And I wound up getting a check for $7,984 back from the IRS, because that was money that I left on the table. Because as a 1099 or a business owner, myself, because if you have a Social Security number, that's, you are a business. If you're working, for yourself, really, you are a business. So I refiled my taxes, and I got $7,900 and I think $84 or $89 back from the IRS. So now here I am. I've got an extra $800 per month coming into my check. I've got $7,984 in a lump sum money. So what do? Do I go out and blow that money to get an apartment? No, because now I have cash flow. Now I have money that I can invest. And then he told me about whole life insurance policies, how you can invest your money into whole life insurance, because whole life insurance can be used to enhance your lifestyle while you're living. Unlike term life insurance, which is basically for people, you live, you pay your insurance premium, then when you die, your family gets a lot of money. But that doesn't do you any good, right? So he had suggested whole life insurance. So I looked into whole life insurance, and sure enough, they have what's called a cash value and a death benefit. So from listening to him further, and I found out that you can do what's called a dump. You can put a bunch of money into your whole life insurance. Some people, they transfer money from their 401ks or the 403bs or the IRAs or something. Some of you all have, $20, $30, $40, $50, $100, $200, $300,000 in your 401k. But I'm going to talk about a little bit and show you how your money is much better served by shifting that money over to a different type of investment vehicle, which is private reserve banking, which is essentially whole life insurance. Okay? So what I did, since I didn't have any 401ks and I didn't have any 403bs or IRAs or anything like that, I only had that $7,984. So I took $7,000 of that $7,984 and I did what's called a dump. I dumped that into a whole life insurance policy. Okay? And I elected to have a premium of paying $800 per month. That's the extra $800 I was getting in my check. I wasn't going to miss it because it was extra money now. It was money I didn't know that I was getting. I was able to get money back from the federal government and keep it and invest that money so it makes more money for me. Because that's what the federal government does. All right? When the federal government takes a third of your money before you see it, they actually invest that money. And they make a ton of money on it. And then at the end of the year, they give you back 25 to 30% of what they took from you. Sometimes 50% of what they took from you. But they're not doing you any favors. If they really wanted to do you a real favor, they would give you the 25% that they made, 25% of the money that they made off of your money. I guarantee that's a hell of a lot more money than them giving you back a refund check of 25% of what they took from you. So, but that's what I did. I decided to take that money myself, right? I was getting it, an extra $800 a month, and I started dumping it into the whole life insurance policy as my monthly premium. Now, here's what happens with whole life insurance policy, because whole life insurance and private reserve banking works differently than when you put your money in your regular bank accounts. Okay, it works differently than IRAs or 401ks. Because with whole life insurance and private reserve banking, the money you're putting into it, it is riding the stock market gains, the S&P 500. I'm sure y'all have heard of that. You know, you hear it all the time. Today, the S&P experienced a growth of 20%. Today, the S&P rose 40 points. Today, the S&P dropped 12 points. Today, the S&P plummeted 46 points. You all hear that all the time. It goes up and down. But here's the thing about whole life insurance. Unlike 401ks, which both rise the market gains and the market lows. So when the market goes up in a 401k, you make money, right? Yeah. But guess what? When the market goes down, you lose money. So you can lose all your money in a 401k if the market takes a dip, a big dip or a plummet like it did in 2018. When you had all these people had their money in 401ks and they were losing all their money. And people were going crazy. Foreclosure, people were killing themselves, jumping off roofs, killing themselves and their entire family. It was crazy. Because they had lost their life savings in their 401ks. Because the market took a plunge. But if they would have had their money in a whole life insurance policy or a private reserve account, guess what? Your money only rides the stock market gains, the S&P gains, and not the stock market losses. So as your money goes up, when the market goes up, when the market goes down, your money freezes, stays where it's at. Market starts going back up again, your money starts riding it up again. So you have zero chance of losing any of your money. I thought that was pretty interesting. Another interesting fact about whole life insurance and private reserve banking. When you're paying money into it, you build what's called cash value. And you also have a death benefit. Now, the one I was doing, I dumped $7,000 in. I was paying $800 a month. My death benefit was starting out at $260,000. That's not unheard of for a person who was homeless. You know, you can't have a death benefit of $1 million and you're homeless because they're not going to let you do that because I wasn't worth $1 million. But I was worth $250,000, $280,000. So that's where we started out at. And I was dumping in $800 per month. So me dumping in $800 per month, guess what? That was accelerating my cash value a lot faster than my death benefit. Now, this cash value that we're talking about, because it's your money, as it builds, you can borrow that money from yourself anytime you want, for any reason you want. That's the great thing about it. You can borrow that money from yourself anytime you want for any reason that you choose to. You don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to have a reason. You just call up your agent and say, hey, I need X amount of money. The agent says, well, when do you need it? And they have it wired right to you. Now, ain't that something? Now, not only that, the money you borrow from yourself, because now you are your own bank, you get to determine how you're going to pay yourself back. You literally get to negotiate with yourself and say, self, now how do I want to pay myself back? Well, I borrowed $5,000 from myself, so I'm going to pay myself back at an interest of 3.25% or 2.25%. and I'm gonna take X number of years to pay myself back. So that's gonna come out to be, I'm gonna pay myself back $100 a month. And that's not even the best part. You actually get to keep the interest on the money you're paying yourself back. Now, don't that beat all? Everyone else, when they borrow money from their bank or from wherever they're borrowing it from, they pay an interest back to the bank. So if you borrow money to buy a home, $300,000 home like we did, and if you finance it through a mortgage company, like we didn't do, but if you do finance through a mortgage company, you're paying the interest back 3.25%, 3.2%, 2.5%, whatever the rate is right now, right? $300,000, you're paying about $1,800, $1,900 per month, whatever the case may be. After 30 years, you will pay back interest of almost more than $150,000. So that $300,000 home, you paid almost $450,000 to $500,000 back. That's the way they have convinced everyone that that's the way it's done. But wealthy people don't do that. They borrow the money from themselves, from their private reserve accounts, their whole life insurance policies, and then they pay for that home cash. Then they pay themselves back. Then they collect the interest on the money they're paying themselves. So by the time they finish paying for the home, like we did, bought our home cash by borrowing money from our private reserve account or our whole life insurance policy, borrowed money from ourselves, paid for the home, got the deed in hand. We decided we're going to pay ourselves back $1,000 a month. Our neighbors are probably paying a lot more than that per month, but we're paying ourselves back $1,000 per month, and we get to collect the interest on the money we're paying ourselves back. So by the time we finish paying ourselves back, guess what? We won't pay almost $500,000 for our $300,000 home that you see here. We won't pay that much money for our home. We will pay roughly about $230,000, maybe $220,000, because the interest that we collect offsets the money that we pay for the home. So that becomes income to us. That interest does. You see how that works? Same thing with our cars. That's why, I mean, we have several cars. Every last one of them are paid for. You know, we've got our Jaguar, our Range Rover. You know, over here we've got our, where is it at? There's our Cadillac, our Nissan truck. We also have a convertible that we let, you know, one of our relatives drive. So, you know, I mean, they're all paid for. No, we have the title to all of that, because we use the money from our private reserve account or our whole life insurance policy to fund our lifestyle. And you're probably saying, well, Captain, how does that exactly work? Well, remember I told you I was pumping $800 per month into my private reserve account or my whole life insurance policy. Now, I only set it up for 5 years. Well, I only had to pay into it for 5 years. After 5 years, I didn't have to pay into it anymore. So at that point, the money gets to the point it's grown so much that it takes over and it starts fulfilling that second thing that Brian Bean talks about. Get your money making money for you. Get your money going to work for you instead of you going to work for your money, which is the reason why I haven't worked a job in 6 years now. Because at that time, when I was at the homeless shelter, I started my first whole life insurance policy. Dumped in that $7,000 I got from the federal government. Started paying $800 a month for 5 years. That first year, my cash value was over $16,000. That's up to $16,000 I can borrow from myself at any time I needed it, any time I wanted to. Right? My death benefit was around $260,000, $270,000, somewhere around there. That second year, because I didn't touch it that first year, that second year, remember, because I was homeless for about 18 months, so I waited till the second year rolled over. That second year, my cash value, because I'm paying the $800 a month and I'm accelerating it, my cash value jumped from $16,000 to almost $43,000. Wow. My death benefit jumped to almost $310,000, $320,000, somewhere around there. Right? So then I said, oh, Captain, you need to make a move. You know, you got $43,000 you can borrow from yourself. Now get this. When I borrowed that money from myself, I said, well, I need an apartment. I need a place to live. So I started looking at some of the bank foreclosures and the REOs and things like that. And they had a townhome, that they were selling. It was foreclosed on. It was REOs. They were selling a townhome over off of Lorette Drive. That's where I bought my first townhome. So I said, they were selling the doggone thing for $15,000. Well, I had $43,000 I can borrow from myself. So guess what I did? I borrowed the $15,000 from myself, and I paid for the townhome cash. The guy couldn't believe when I told him I was paying cash for it. And when they asked me where was I living at before, and I said the homeless shelter. He thought I was freaking out of my mind. But there it was. I told him I can get the money within 7 business days. He said, okay. So he gave me a contract. I called up my agent, my insurance agent, and said, hey, I need $15,000. He said, okay, Mr. Butler, how soon do you need it? Well, I need it as soon as possible. He said, okay, well, we'll wire it right to your bank. Voila, $15,000. I paid for the townhome, went to close and closed on it. Now I've got a property, a townhome that was worth $180,000 that I own. Had the deed to the doggone thing. I'm just out of the homeless shelter. Ain't got no mortgage, no rent. All I gotta pay is my light bill and my utilities. That's it. See, you all are running around here thinking that it's hard or it's difficult to become wealthy, but it's not. You just have to learn to practice wealth strategies. Becoming wealthy is not hard at all. You just have to learn how to practice wealth strategy. You know what's hard? What's hard is working a job and thinking that it's going to pay for all the things you need to pay for in life. It's going to fund your existing lifestyle and it's going to fund your future lifestyle. But that ain't true. That ain't going to happen. That's the lie that we've been sold. And a lot of y'all know I'm right because you've seen me when I was homeless and you see me now. And a lot of y'all have wondered to yourself, how did he actually do that? I remember that guy walking around with his laptop, talking about he was going to start a business and walking to work, every day, in the rain, in the cold, in the heat. I remember that guy. But here in the last 4 or 5 years, it seems like he just hit the lottery. No lottery. Didn't hit the lottery. But I did run into Brian N. Bean. Now, remember that the whole life insurance policy I told you about that I had $43,000 in? Now, here's the great thing. When I borrowed that $15,000 from myself, did my balance drop from $43,000 down to $30-some thousand? No. My balance stayed at $43,000. Because remember, I am my own bank, so the same rules apply as is with your bank. Because when you put money in your bank, your money loans your money out to several different people. But does your balance drop? No, because that's money on the books that's still owed back to you. So it's the same situation here, the same scenario. So my balance of $43,000 did not drop. It kept riding the stock market gains. But I tell you, the wealthy have had the inside track for a very long time. You better believe me when I'm telling you this, because I'm showing it to you right here of how it works for you. So let's go into my third year. My third year, I'm still paying my $800 a month. Right? I got 3 more years to go. I'm in my third year. I got a total of 3 more years to go, total of 5 years. I'm still paying my $800 a month. The third year, my cash value jumped from that $43,000 to over $160,000. It's like it's compounded. Because the stock market did well that third year. And I only benefit from the gains and I didn't suffer from the losses. Because that's how those private reserve accounts and those whole life insurance accounts, that's how they roll. Now, my death benefit, it went up to like $400,000, almost $500,000. Now I'm worth that because I've got property that I own free and clear. Now I say to myself, well, shoot, I've got this much money now, more than $140,000, almost $160,000 in my whole life insurance policy. I need a vehicle. So I went out and bought a Range Rover. Remember that first white Range Rover y'all saw me drive around? I bought that using the money from my private reserve account on my whole life insurance policy. Another thing I did with that money, because now I had money, right? I went into the trucking industry. Now, I would not have been able to do that if I did not have the luxury of having that extra income, that investment sitting off to the side that would allow me to stop doing everything I was doing and run off and go learn how to drive trucks. Yes. Now, let's jump into my fourth year. My 4th year, I'm out on the road driving trucks. I'm still pumping $800 a month into my private reserve account on my whole life insurance policy. Guess what happened on that 4th year? My death benefit went up to almost $600,000, $700,000. Ooh, that's money that I can leave to my family in case I have a bad accident out here in this truck, right? But my cash value went above 200 grand. It was like 290. No, it was like 300. No, 290, 297,000, something like that. I didn't touch it, but what I did was, because I had been driving trucks for almost a year. I didn't drive trucks for more than, with a company for more than like 8-9 months. Then I came home and I bought my own truck. Now people are saying, well, Calvin, I'll go on the truck. And I bought a brand new Freightliner. Had 9 miles on it. The plastic was still on the seats. $136,000 truck. That's right. $136,000 truck. And all the other people in my trucking, industry, so they'll say, well, how in the hell, Calvin? I see you working for Covenant Transport. You're driving for about 8 months, and all of a sudden you come home and you got a brand new Freightliner. How did you do that? That whole life insurance policy. Borrowed money from myself when I bought the truck. Because they was wondering how I could run cheap freight. Well, I could run cheap freight because I didn't owe nothing on my truck. I didn't have a truck payment like they had. Some of these guys having $700 a week, $800-900 a week truck payments. I didn't have a truck payment. So naturally, guess what? I can run cheap freight. I can run $1 per mile freight. I can run 75 cents per mile freight and still come out on top. Make plenty of money in trucking. But that was all made possible from the advice of Brian N. Bean and changing the way I thought about money. And started utilizing what? Wealth strategies instead of working hard. So here I was. I got my trucking company, RBBS Transport. Y'all know it. Y'all see it now online. We're now, we sort of freight brokerage firm and dispatch firm. And, I got all these students in my dispatch firm and everything. I drove trucks for about another year. And then I came home and shut that down, put someone in my truck, let them go out and drive, make more money. That wouldn't have been possible without the strategies taught by Brian M. Bean. So here I am now, got my trucking company. It's making money for me. I want to start my brokerage firm. Where do I get the money to start that from? Here again, private reserve bank account. So going into my 5th and final year, I'm still pumping in $800 per month. Because of the money that I made in the trucking industry, guess what? I paid back the money to myself for buying that townhome. I paid that money back to myself. I collected money on it. So I didn't really pay $15,000 for the townhome. By the time I finished paying myself back, I only paid about $12,000 for the townhome. The Range Rover that I bought that I paid $10,000, I didn't really pay $10,000 for. I wound up paying about $7,500 for because of the interest I was paying back to myself. The truck that I paid $135,000 for, I didn't pay $135,000 for because now that I paid myself back and I collect the interest on the money I was paying myself back, I only paid about $110,000 for it. This is wealth strategies that work. So now I'm going into my 5th year. I'm paying $800 per month. My 5th year, my cash value jumps to almost $390,000. Just under $400,000. Well, I think it was actually went up to $420,000 by the end of my 5th year. And my death benefit was almost $890,000. That's money that I could leave to my family in case anything happened. That's generational wealth. Now, during that time, I've been dating my wonderful wife. We had been dating for about 12, 15 years. Long time to be dating. I know we went back and forth. I engaged to her several times. She said no. And finally she gave in and said yes. And we got married. And I've got this beautiful, condo and a townhome now. And I said to myself, well, Steph, it's time to become a real homeowner. Now, going back a little bit, in between that time, guess what else I did? I got 2 more whole life insurance policies. Because I knew I was coming up to pay the one off that I was, having. I was going to get to my point where I didn't have to pay into it anymore, $800 a month, right? And I was making money in the trucking industry, started my brokerage firm, in my dispatch firm, and I'm bringing in about $10,000 a week. So then now I go out. Now remember, all this money would not have been possible. All these things I was doing would not have been possible if I had not gotten turned on to the different type of mindset and using wealth strategies instead of working hard for my money. Getting my credit straight using those same wealth strategies. Creating positive cash flow and getting more money in my check. That was the start. That was the kickstarter to all of it. Having my taxes redone and then collecting money from taxes that I left on the table, money that I left on the table. All that stuff. Investing in whole life insurance instead of 401ks and 403bs and, IRAs. All that stuff, an accumulation of all that. All of that contributed to me and being able to do the things I was able to do. Because now, because by doing that, I had freedom. I had financial freedom. Freedom to do the things that I wanted to do instead of doing the things that I have to do. Now I'm at a point to where my money is making money for me. So at that point, when I decided to get married, I had 3 whole life insurance policies. One was completely paid up, and it's still building in the cash value. That one back then that I did back then, after them 5 years, to date, that one whole life insurance policy, I can borrow close to $1 million from myself now. And my death benefit is well over, close to $2 million on just that one policy. And I have 2 more. Now, when my wife and I got engaged, I talked to her about this. And guess what she did? The same exact thing. We started practicing the same strategies. She was working at a printing company that print shirts and everything. When we first met, she was working at a nursery, making decent money, but we redid her W-4. Got her an extra $400 every 2 weeks. She got an extra $800 per month. Guess what we did with that extra $800 a month? She opened up her whole life insurance policy. And to date, she has 2 and I have 3. And we just started the process of opening up a new one through MWR Financial and Cal Choice Financial. That's MWR Financial. See how you brought it all full circle? Because here's what happened. Remember, I ran into Brian Bean almost 10 years ago. Brian Bean today is the national director over at MWR Financial. He's the national trainer who trains everybody in MWR Financial. Why? Because when MWR Financial hit the scene about 2.5 years ago, they haven't been in this business for very long. They've been doing this for about 2.5 years, about 2 years now. Going on 2.5 years. They recruited Brian N. Bean because of the way that he was training people and the way that he was showing people how to create wealth. And that's what MWR Financial wanted. They wanted someone to come in who could train anyone, who could coach anyone, who can build a product, put together a product that would allow anyone to create wealth. Now, I know what y'all are saying. Well, Calvin, I don't have time to be writing my creditors and, looking up these whole life insurance policies and refiling my taxes and all that type of stuff. Well, that's where MWR Financial comes in. Because they have a product called the Financial Edge Membership. And the Financial Edge Membership allows you, any ordinary person, to hire their own team of financial experts to make wealth real for you. Do all the things that Brian Bean coached me into doing myself. I did it the hard way. But MWR Financial now makes it easy because that's what Brian Bean brought to the table. And not only did he bring it to the table, he proved that it could be that it could work. Because he started on the business side of MWR Financial in November of 2019, just before the pandemic. And in that short period of time, from then until now, he has went through the pay scale and up to $500 per day guaranteed income. On top of that, he gets a $3,000 car bonus. On top of that, he gets all his overrides and all of his team bonuses and everything he gets. If the man just wakes up in the morning, he's guaranteed $15,000 per month. Now, myself, I've only been on the business side. When I found out that Brian Bean was with MWR Financial, guess what? I signed up. So I've been doing the business side of this for only since October. And I'm already at guaranteed $600 per month, plus my overrides, plus my team bonuses. Right now, I did the calculation. I'm bringing in just under $3,000 per month. And I've only been doing this since October. Not to mention, I got my Financial Edge membership now. All that stuff I did, that I was doing myself, now I have a team of financial experts to do that stuff for me. That's how I get to the point to where I'm opening up a private reserve banking account through MWR Financial now. So this will make our 6 private reserve, whole life insurance, call it whatever you want to call it. But this will make our 6th one that we're going to be getting. So you see a lot of people on MWR Financial, on their testimony page, to talk about what the benefits did for them and what the business is doing for them. I'm here to tell you those services, getting your credit straightened out, redoing your W-4s, that stuff works. Putting your money in private reserve banking and whole life insurance, that stuff works because it worked for me. It took me from homeless to what you see now. I own several cars. We own our home. I own 2 more properties. My wife owns her home. And at any given time, we can borrow close to $2 million from ourselves at any given time. And we have death benefits now with, don't try to knock me off now, but our death benefit is pretty high. We will leave our family plenty of money. We will. That's called generational wealth, people. This is how it's really done. That's called generational wealth. That's how it's really done, okay? Now, y'all have heard me talk about MWR Financial, Brian and Bean, and all the things like that for quite some time. And I don't know if you all just don't believe me, but I can tell you for a fact, there are people out there who know me when I was homeless. They knew me. They saw me walking up and down the street. And if you don't believe me, go to my YouTube channel, Diaries of a Homeless Entrepreneur. Calvin Butler, from Homeless to Self-Made Millionaire. Calvin Butler, Financial Freedom by Design. You can Google any of those and you'll pull up my YouTube channel. There's about 68, 70 videos from the time I was homeless up until now that gives it to you in real-time proof of what I was able to accomplish by using wealth strategies. Those same wealth strategies that are practiced by MWR Financial and your team of financial experts. Look, this stuff is not hard. It really isn't. This is not, stuff that, that anybody can do it, especially with your own team of financial experts. And guess what? It's not expensive. To get your own team of financial experts, it's just $79.97 per month. Come on, man, that's a cup of coffee a day. And then start your own MWR Financial business. Oh my God. It's only $218 on your business startup cost. That's it. $218 on your business startup cost and $119 per month. Now, how many businesses do you know that you can start for that kind of money? This is just incredible stuff, people. But this is what it is. It is what it is. None of this, everything that you see here, that I have and that my wife and I enjoy, it would not be possible without MWR Financial. You see here, I'm watching MWR Financial now because it's such a big part of my life. It's such a positive part of my life. It allows me to live an incredible lifestyle. An incredible lifestyle that allows me to live right now that I would not have been able to live without it. These strategies that I practice, that MWR Financial Edge membership provides, they will make you wealthy. They will make a huge difference in your life in securing your financial future. You have a credit expert. You have You have a debt expert. You have bill negotiators, professional bill negotiators who will negotiate your bills on your behalf to lower them. You have a tax expert who will work on lowering your tax obligations, giving you more money back from the federal government, helping you to keep more money in your check, help you to raise your take-home pay. And you have a wealth expert, a team of wealth experts who will work with you to get you that private reserve banking account and show you your millionaire date. I don't know what else to tell you. This is how it's done. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna tune in to Brian and Bean, and I'm gonna let you all watch him tell you how he accomplished what he did with the financial experts and how he turned an investment of $228 into $228,000 in less than a year. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Brian and Bean. Thank you all for watching, and my time is up, and giving it over to him. Y'all have a great day.